Yo, here is a BFR bike intro. Now, before I even get into this, couple things. I do at least 10 minutes of massaging the quads with a variety of implements we've already covered. Then I'll do about 10 minutes of floss band compression for the quads and the knees, whether it's doing a 2-minute bike here with the floss bands on, or a variety of kneeling, squatting, Bulgarian split squat and position type stretches. And by the way too, if you wanted to get off the bike and do some stretching between intervals, or like after certain blocks of time when your butt is bothering, whatever else, we just do that quad hip flexor stretch off of a box or bench. That's gonna allow us to really mobilize directly what is gonna get tight from your biking. And in particular, while you have these on, it's gonna actually help compress the middle quad muscle, and it has like a simultaneous BFR and floss band compression benefit from mobility standpoint. Now, setting up the bike, I've got the Concept 2 ski erg levels 1 through 10. It's a fan bike. At each level, there is infinite resistance because it's also a fan bike. So it's an erg fan bike, which is why I got it. It's also minimal maintenance, easy to clean, beautifully assembled. I love all Concept 2 stuff. I like to set the seat height for most of my riding right around or just below the hip. Which allows me, while I'm on it, to essentially get the leg not hyperextended. Well, I mean, I should be able to get the leg all the way straight, because what I'm trying to work here is terminal knee extension. And the beauty of this is a lot of knee problems are going to stem from the fact there's a hip stability issue. The pelvis is tilting, turning, or shifting on one side, over rotating, and that's creating a lot of problems for your gait, your squatting mechanics, and that type of thing. With the seat, it locks in your stability, it unloads you. It's one of the lowest impact cardio mechanisms you have, and it's just a phenomenal way to just blow up the quads, particularly the lower quads, the VMO, teardrop muscle, vastus medialis oblique. And there's a couple things I want to talk about too. I've attached these compression cuffs not as high as I typically would, because what I've noticed, if you go too high as you would the upper thigh or right below the gluteal fold, it interferes, you'll get shaping, it just feels uncomfortable with the seat. So I actually attach it at the highest point where I can see the teardrop. So here's that inner quad teardrop muscle. It's that highest point where I'm on it, if you can kind of see him here. That's where I want it, right in the middle of the quad, right on that middle quad rectus femoris muscle, the one that often gets super tight. So that's where it is in terms of attachment. I've got it started at 60% compression, and on the little dial here, I can go 5% up or down. And typically what I'll do is I'll do a continuous ride every, maybe just a 20-minute 60% if I'm really feeling worn down. After a minute or two with these cuffs on, because I can really compress, I already start to get the pump. With the BFR bands, I'd still attach them the same way. It just might take 5 to 10 minutes before they really start to kick in. What I'm looking for here is maintaining at least 60 to 80 RPM. And there's a couple technique points, especially if you want to hit your lower quad VMO in particular. So keep constant tension into the pedal and try to push down the big toe and the instep of the foot as much as you can. Especially with outer knee issues too, you might find yourself kind of pressing on the outside of the foot. No, you want to press down on the inside of the foot and the big toe to really get the lower quad VMO going. So on the resistance side of things, like I said, I can do a 60% compression ride at level 1 out of 10 and get an insane quad pump. The blood flow is incredible, flooding synovial fluids also into the joint. And so I start my morning with it. I'll do my massage for the quads, I'll do my floss band compression for the quads and the knees, and then I'll go into a 20-minute ride. Then I'll actually typically finish with my 20-minute pool hip mobility flow to tie it all in. But that's my every morning knee rehab. And then whatever I do later in the day is what I do, but I never skip this because of how important it is to me. And you've got to also learn how to prioritize that if you have a joint that is seriously arthritic or you're facing total joint replacement. So I'm gonna just keep riding here. You notice I added my fat grips. I love to add those to any like thin bars because I can just kind of palm this, and people notice too, like they'll over grip their handles, and that's not a nice thing to do. You'll end up getting, tension, tightness in the forearms, hand, finger, wrist pain. We don't want that. So I can literally just palm this, and mechanics matter. So you want to take the palms and push the chest up, activate the serratus anterior muscles alongside the ribs for shoulder stability. I like to get the handlebars as high as possible so I'm not leaning over too much. I want as upright of a trunk as possible to really target my quads. And so I can kind of sit tall and back, and again, big toe, instep, pumping down, pushing. So that's about the 2-minute mark. And by the way, short on time, or you work remotely, or you work in a gym, you just want a quick lymphatic pump for 2 to 5 minutes, EHO style, every hour on the hour, just break up your day, jump on here quick, and stiffness in the knees will be gone. It's incredible how much of a pump you get, and again, no pain in my knees. I can get the best quad pumps of my life at level 1 on this. And if you find yourself getting, you know, consistently way above 80 RPM, then what you can do is just slowly work your way up one level at a time. So that's how I approach it. Now, if I'm feeling pretty good and I want to do a steady state with a build-up, with the SUJI BFR cuffs, I'll go 4 minutes at 60%, then 65, 70, 75, 80. Every 4 or 5 minutes, I am bumping up 5%. So the final 4 or 5 minutes is just brutal. I can barely keep it at like 70 RPM. And when it dips below 60, typically 60 RPM, if you're using something with that readout, it probably means the intensity is too high for the current level of compression. You can also do intervals on this, by the way, and typically what would take me to get to level 10, which it is on the bike, it's low impact, but it's still impact, and it's still tension. So if I go up to level 10, to have to get an HIIT effect for 30 to 60 second sprints, but I can come down to like 3, 4, or 5, what does that mean? And I'm getting the same, if not better, muscle pump with the BFR cuffs. Again, less tension, less overall stress on the joint, and I can do it more often. I can recover faster. So again, this is a off day recovery after a heavy leg day or a heavy ride. It's also potentially a great warm-up or cool down or starter finisher. It can be steady state, it can be interval based. You can warm up some steady state for 5 or 10 minutes before you go into intervals. A classic starting point, I think, is just a 60 on, 60 off. And what I'll typically do on that is I can either build up the compression from interval to interval, or I can just build the level from interval to interval. So I've got a lot of options. But again, palm it, chest up, rib shoulders down, push through the big toe and instep of the foot, get a good cadence going. And by the way, it's okay to work in some fast speed, 100 to 120 RPM plus. If you want to really work speed and just keep it really light, get a crazy pump like in about 2 minutes if you're short on time, or a nice little finish of just working in tempo changes. But what I can also do too, anytime I change it, you want to let the cuffs come up 5%. So I'm going to come up to 65. And I'm going to keep going with you guys here. So pump, push down, engage. They're starting to swell up real nice. The one thing to know too, because I'm occluding the legs, right? So below the attachment point, there's arterial inflow, but I'm limiting venous return. So you're seeing the red blood flush that muscle, pump it up. If you're lean, you'll see some vascularity start to occur in the thighs and the calves, but it'll get a little bit whiter above the attachment because the blood's trapped down there, and also because you're seated, that's also going to be limiting your blood supply too. So if you start to get, this is kind of funny, but after about 20 minutes, and it sounds like unsafe, but my privates go numb. My dick and my balls, they get a little bit numb. So every 5 minutes or so, by the way, this happens without the cuffs, just seated, it does obstruct blood flow. So I like to kind of sit really, let my kind of hips come forward a little bit, so I'm really back on the tailbone. But just whenever you feel that, just come up, stand, kind of rest it a bit, or I do a little bit of a hip, internal, external rotation, in and out. I can do both sides that way. Internal, external, kind of open it up. I can actively hinge, flex, extend, open those hips up a little bit. I can do it on, both sides. Internal, let that, see, I'm just kind of, so just use a half minute to a minute break whenever you feel like, my butt's hurting, my taint is feeling like it's scorched right now, or you get like numb in your privates, you can do that as well. So coming through. So the 65, I already feel like, wow, this is a bigger pump than I was expecting. And this will blow you away the first couple times you do this. Breath. So I typically do a 4-cycle inhale, 4-cycle exhale. I can keep it nasal only if I really want to challenge my diaphragm. If you don't want to count the actual cycles, you'll get into a rhythm with it. You can just keep maintain a smooth inhale, exhale cycle. So at faster cadences, I use that 4-4 rhythmic. If I'm going really heavy resistance, let me just bump it up like 5 right now with 65%. Is gonna feel like I'm in hell, okay? Now it's slower cadence, let's say 40 to 60 RPM. Then I'll go 2-2, so every 2 cycles, inhale, 2 cycles, exhale. Oh man. Yeah, so like this feels like level 10 to my muscles right now. It's on 5 and I'm only at 65% compression, and now I'm having a hard time maintaining even 70 RPM. I'm gonna go back down to 1 so I can go through the sequence. My workout today planned was, again, 4 minutes at 60%, level 1, then every 4 minutes I'm bumping up 5% till I get 80. That max compression at 80 is where it feels insane. But again, I could go interval based, and whether I'm resting the full 60 or just going like 1 for 60 at a slower recovery pace, or the next minute, again, I want to go back up to 5, let's say. But it's not going to take, again, it's half the resistance or even less than you'd expect to get the same level of cardiovascular muscle pump. And again, you could say, well, the loads are so light, I'm not going to get the same level of fat loss or muscle gain or cardio, but it's not the case. Again, your body is done with this stuff. It's going to be even more quad pump, and because the legs take up so much oxygen, your heart rate is going to be up higher than normal, your calorie burning rate is going to be higher than normal. So again, and beyond the fact that because of the hypoxia in the muscles primarily below the attachment site, it's like taking your muscles into altitude, the way Michael Phelps used to go to the mountains of Colorado pre-Olympics and challenge his body. The performance goes down initially, right? Less resistance, you got to go slower, but then it's like taking off the brakes when you go back to sea level. And then he ended up killing people with 20 plus, 23, 25 golds. All right, one of the all-time greats, and boxers do this too, that want to go 10 plus rounds in a championship fight. They go to altitude. You're taking your muscles to altitude with the BFR. So you're starving them of oxygen. And that makes the slow twitch fibers fatigue much faster, making the fast twitch fibers that you typically could only hit with really heavy loads, fast, explosive, high impact movements. Now you can do it with super light loads. So that's what's happening here. I'm gonna go up another percentage point here, 5%. So I'm at 70, we're 10 minutes into the ride. You see how much sweat's going on? And I'll show you the leg pump at the end of this. But again, big toe, instep, good breathing mechanics. Don't get sloppy here. Palm it, chest up. And again, what I'm teaching you is related to not like competitive cycling or competitive stationary biking. I use this as a conditioning and strength tool. So I'm looking at how is this gonna help me with my knee arthritis? How's it gonna help me with my patellar tracking? How's it gonna build my quad, specifically the teardrop VMO muscle, to help track my patella more medially inside versus out, all right? And how's it gonna help my overall conditioning so I don't have to do as much high impact stuff. Even walking outside in cement, you gotta get padded shoes, okay? When you're bone on bone, you've got no margin for error. So the more you can find your kind of daily activity level to be found through non-impact activities that actually feed your knee tracking, the quad strength, and unload the knees in the back, the better. Yeah, awesome pump. Awesome, awesome pump going on right now. Good sweat. And what's great about starting your day like this too, just knowing, okay, like, well, I can always do the 60% for 20 minutes. It's never easy, but it's just a nice way to start the day. Have my coffee, take a shit, too much info, get some water in, and I hit, after I do my massage and mobility compression, I get right into my BFR ride, and I can just be consistent with it, you know? Maybe you take 1 or 2 days off a week if you need it, but it just is a system you can get into, and days I'm feeling better, I go more compression and or add higher levels or mix in some sprints. Days I'm really worn down, it's like, oh, they're stiff, my quads are sore, I'll just do a light steady state recovery ride. And again, people knock steady state, but steady state aerobic oxidative work is your base, okay? It's also what drives your body's recovery system. So you need it to recover from the high intensity work beyond the fact that as you age, you can't do much high intensity. You gotta reduce the overall intensity, frequency, volume, especially if you're battling arthritis, aches and pains, stuff like that. So right now it's 84, 86 RPM at level 1. In about 90 seconds, I'm gonna bump it up. Actually, no, right, I'm sorry, I gotta bump it up to 75. Okay, so again, this is like adding weight. It's like adding level of tension. So now it's 75% again. So now that RPM is gonna drop a little bit. Whew. And by the way, too, you could say, well, starters, finishers, it's great for this too. You're doing squats. The goal is muscle gain. I would do this before you squat. Pre-fatigue the muscle so that it takes less weight, less reps, less time to get the effect you're looking for in your squat workout. Less load to the spine and the back. Obviously, if you're a power lifter, which the goal is always only how much weight can you lift, you'd want to save it for after, or just make the warm-up very light, or maybe it's an off-day protocol for you. But again, if the goal is rehab, like, you got to take your ego out of the equation. When I was younger, I could never allow myself to do this level 1 in the bike. Are you crazy? The ego got in the way. The ego, like, you start to learn this, especially as a man over 40. That's, I think, when the shift happens, because your ego, if your ego hasn't died and you're over 40, it never will. I found you let it all go. So if I can use Barbie pinky weights or the lightest level resistance and my muscles explode and my thighs are bigger than 99.9% of the people on this planet, and I can do it without the knee pain that's been dragging me down, the inflammation I have to kind of worry about every day with the arthritis, it's allowing me to do my job better. So to me, that's the win. Like, it's a cheat code. That's what this is about. It's a cheat code I can use. Now, by the way, it's not that I never want to go up to level 10, but now I don't have to do it as often. I can pepper it in, and in most cases, especially if I've got a flare-up, I always know what I can do, so I'm never stopping. The key to all of this, whether it's rehab or just fitness in general as a lifestyle, you can never stop. It's a dimmer switch. You're always on, but the light might be a little more dim on the rough days, the high stress days, the short on time days, and then it's up when you're highly motivated. You got time, you got energy, things are going good, but you never turn it off. It's too hard to turn back on. And that's what happens every new year with people. Woo! Can't wait to get 80%. What I'll do in the final 5 minutes too, and by the way, you could literally just do this. You could just ride with me. Now, by the way, I'll note too, if you have a fan bike and you don't have the ability to like adjust the levels, what you're gonna do is, if it's a steady state, it's the fastest sustainable pace you can maintain without having to stop. So there's gonna be, you wanna feel some lactate and some burn in the legs, but you should be able to continue, probably able to still talk a little bit. Obviously, if you're doing sprints, you're moving it as fast as you can with good form and technique. But I do, whether it's an upright bike, which is my preference, or a recumbent bike, I like if it has levels, but the Concept 2 bike is the best of all worlds because it has both levels 1 through 10 in 1 increments, and it has the fan, so at every level there's infinite resistance. So I could still, at level 1, pedal really fast to make it harder. All right, let's go to 80. Whew. All right, they've set. Here we go. Final 4 minutes here. Thanks for joining me on my morning workout. If I can kind of sum up like I was facing total knee replacements. So you're talking like what? Minimum $5,000 to $10,000 per knee. You're talking about the fact that 15% of the replacements don't take. You're talking about how the 85% that do have success probably never get full flexion back, probably lose general proprioception to the joint. may never fully regain the full strength and mobility back, though they might be in less pain. So my whole thing is, I don't have a year to be out of work and not be able to film videos and stay in shape. So that's different for me. But I also look at it from the standpoint of, if I can kick that can as far down the road as possible, that's gonna allow me to hopefully maybe avoid something so invasive. Or the AI and the robots are so good they can do it at 100% success rate, better than ever before. Or with stem cells, with peptides, with hyaluronic injections, some of the stuff that's like new, not FDA approved. We don't really know what's gonna happen long term, but it's promising. 5 to 10 years down the road, if I can kick that can, or maybe I can avoid it altogether. But the reality is, even if you don't have knee arthritis, well, 30 million people in America have knee arthritis, America alone. So it's a big problem, and you're gonna get knee pain occasionally from training your legs, walking, running, squatting. This is gonna help manage that. So it's rehab. Is it rehab? Yeah. Is it also prehab? The best way to avoid arthritis or treat arthritis is to never get it in the first place. Avoid the wear and tear. Be smart about your training. What I'm gonna do now is up to 80, it's cash. I'm gonna go up to 5, and I'm gonna go as fast as I can for the final 2. So again, like I said, I go faster cadence, 4-4 rhythmic, 4 cycle inhale, 4 cycle exhale. Slower cadence, higher resistance, 2-2. I love to finish the last 2 minutes strong, whether it's getting all the way up on the compression or bumping the resistance up a bit, or staying at the same resistance and going as fast as I can. So you've got options. I go nasal only if I'm more steady state. When I start to get into real aggressive rides, I exhale through the mouth. I still inhale through the nose, but I exhale through the mouth so that I can really get the waste out. Get out that CO2. Oh my God, dying right now. Can barely keep it at 74. Oh, it's dipping. Whew, at RPM 71 now. Less than a minute left. Big toe, big toe. Sometimes I'll even close my eyes to increase my body awareness. And I just wanna feel, make yourself connect, mind muscle connect. Make yourself feel those BMOs, those lower quads. Make yourself feel the big toe push, the instep pressure. It makes it so I'm not wiggling, I'm locked in. That's what I don't like about bike sprints. People, they go, whether it's a man bike, whatever, I lock in. I'm driving the motion mainly through the legs. Lock down on my core and upper body. 10 seconds left. Oh, shit. And then I always, I can finish with some quad hip flexor stretching out that box bench. Let me just show it quick. Ideally get a back pad for the knee, especially my right side. Again, they're gonna tighten up for being seated like that. So get right down, stretch them out with the occlusion, by the way. So you're continuing, you're extending the pump. It's like where mobility meets muscle gain. Add some rotation. Glide it forward a little bit to get more true hip flexor versus more quad hip flexor. So that's phenomenal. But I take the bodybuilder approach too. I like to flex them out. So what you like to do is, again, this will actually help build isometric strength, particularly from the ground up. So spread those toes, push down, and just in and out. Sweep it. Come back through. In and out. Sweep it. The pump is precious.